Welcome to the Hanley Effect, a podcast by the Hanley Foundation designed to educate, change minds, and save lives. Our goal is to inspire you, showcase our innovations, and change the conversation about addiction and mental health. Join us as we unravel stories of resilience, recovery, and hope.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Hanley Effect. Dr. Rachel Docekal, it's great to see you again.
Dr. D.
I'm John Dyben here with Dr. Docekal, and we have got some special guests today. Who have we got, Dr. D?
Well, first of all, I'd like to just say there will be crying with this episode. There's going to be crying.
I'm a rock. I'm insistent.
All right. I'm not sure I think that's true.
We'll see.
It's going to be crying as well.
We'll see.
So we have two guests here today. I am super excited. We have Turner Benoit. He is our Chief Philanthropy Officer, Chief Fundraiser at Hanley. And then welcome, Nikki. I cannot believe you are here to tell your story. It is inspirational, and that's why there's going to be crying, not because of you, Turner.
No.
Thank you for having me.
So glad you're here.
We're really excited. And Nikki, we would just want to make sure you have plenty of time because the work that you do now is really, really important. And your journey and how you got to where you are is so compelling. And so, Nikki, if you're okay with it, we'd like to just know a little bit about what you do, who you are, and tell us as much as you're comfortable with of your story.
Sure. My name is Niki T. I'm a recovered alcoholic and addict and a very, very proud Hanley alum. I got sober on Christmas Eve of 2016.
Yes, you did.
And a big part of my journey, leading up to the time I came to Hanley was a lot of that in and out, like failed attempts to get sober. And I was truly one of those people that thought I was going to just die on the streets an alcoholic death. I had really come to believe that. I had so many failed attempts. I had felt that I was so far gone. And in my last couple of months out on the streets, I went to jail and I found out that I was pregnant with my first child, my daughter. And during that time, it almost didn't dawn on me that, this child, I had no connection to this child. I felt hopeless. I felt like I didn't deserve to be a mother. I had all of these awful feelings. I had no evidence that I could be a successful member of society. And thankfully I had some people in my life that really loved and cared about me and were able to make some calls. And by the grace of God, I was scholarshiped to Hanley. And I came down here in 2016. I got sober. I've been sober since December of 2016. Not getting a ton into what that journey looked like quite yet. My pregnancy and what I experienced during my active addiction played such a major role in just my attempts to try to get sober, the stigma I felt as a pregnant woman who could not stop using drugs and alcohol. I was terrified to ask for help. Anytime I did ask for help, I felt that I was being turned away.
And judged.
Terribly. So once I got sober, I was really compelled by what happened to me. I suddenly found this courage to be honest about those things. I've been pretty honest and open about those things for the last almost decade now. And some really amazing things happened where first I started to find women who had similar experiences to me. And they were like, I've never had somebody who had the courage to say those things. I struggled in that same way. And I found this immense purpose just from that. But then, as Dr. D had mentioned, that kind of shifted my professional trajectory as well. And I was given some really amazing opportunities, one of them by another Hanley employee, Dr. Heather Howard, who introduced me to the line of work that I do now, which is as a parent advocate and forensic social worker within the dependency system. So that experience that I had with struggling with substance use disorder and what that looked like in the intersectionality with the dependency system and all the systems that I had to navigate, I found a job doing that, utilizing at first just my lived experience. And then, through some other very generous people, I wound up going back to school and getting a couple degrees. And now I get to do this, not just with my lived experience, but with my educational experience as well. So it truly is like my life's work at this point.
That
Just amazing, amazing. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being honest. Thank you for telling your story. Some of the things that you're talking about in a way that is so open and so honest are things that people still hide behind closed doors and don't want to say out loud. Hanley is starting a program, and Turner, maybe I'll ask you to talk about this, for women who find themselves pregnant and addicted to drugs and alcohol. And the main thing that we hear is that they feel judged and they feel afraid, a huge sense of fear that they're going to get arrested or their child is going to be taken from them.
And, in your story, you talk about, you had that moment. And maybe the pregnancy brought that on, but you had this moment where you're like, I got to do something. And that's what we're trying to capture. And if we can help these women, it breaks that generational cycle of addiction, right? Because if we don't, chances are, baby might get taken away, they're in the system, and we might be seeing that same person in 15, 16 years back on our door.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's something I see with so many of the women and mothers that I work with, and something that I wished I would have had that experience. I know how painful it was when my daughter was removed from me, because that was my experience. She was taken from me at the hospital, and I had that moment, and I'm really grateful that I did. But I also understand what it feels like to not be able to stop using for my daughter, because that was also my experience.
Right.
I didn't get sober right away when they took her from me, unfortunately, and I struggled for a little while. And that opportunity to be able to, bond with your child and have that time while getting well, it's just such an amazing thing to be able to experience, like, the joy of motherhood and the joy of, like, getting sober simultaneously.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're building.
Yeah.
Today we took a portion of our women's unit and built out 5 beds. They have cribs, they have changing tables. We've already had a couple women come in that we've had pregnant women, we've had women with young kids, and that's just the pilot for the larger program that we're building.
And that's where you'll find me. If you need to find me, I'll be holding babies over in that.
You have to be a doula. You have to be a doula to hold the baby. They're very strict about that. They're very strict.
Not true.
And then we're going to build a standalone facility and for up to 24 women and their kids. And even if they have some older kids up to a certain age, we can take them in as well. And, really treat them all, right? Help the moms get sober. But not only that, learn how to live a sober life as a mom.
all right.
A key part of your story really is this purpose. Talk about the Garwoods. Talk about John and Erica Garwood.
So I adore the Garwoods. Gosh, and like every time I feel like I come and speak to you guys, like my Hanley family, I feel like I'm like always pregnant, so I get really, I get like really emotional about these things because it always ties back to another pregnancy where it was like a really pivotal moment in my life. So in 2020, I was pregnant with my son, my second child, and I had found some really rewarding work I was doing with Dr. Howard at the time. And I had found some really exciting opportunities. And, I had been sober a couple of years. And I was like, I think it's time to continue my education. But like easier said than done, because I was like, obviously I want to go get a master's degree. And I know. So I was like, reaching for the stars right away. And I realized you should. That's what should. I realized very quickly I was going to need some help in doing that. I was very grateful to have, what support I did have, from scholarships and things like that through my school. But, education's expensive. Mm-hmm. And I found the Garwoods through a past recipient who obviously, of course, is another Hanley employee, because that's just how my life is. And Hanley is just so pivotal in like every part of my life, I feel like. And I, was terrified. I was pregnant with my second child. I had just started this new job with the Office of Regional Counsel, And I was like, what am I going to do? And the Garwoods offered me a scholarship. And not only did they offer me that initial scholarship, the initial $5,000 reward, when I told them I wanted to continue my education and go for my master's degree, they actually extended more so I could finish my entire degree. So the Garwoods saw me finish my associate's, my bachelor's, and then my master's degree. And I mean, to finish grad school debt-free, I could not have done that without the Garwood's assistance.
So let me just touch on John and Erica. They lost their son, Mark. One of those tragedies of substance use disorder. And what they did is they channeled their grief into a foundation that helps individuals like you with scholarships really for purpose. And I am so thrilled to say that we are working with John and Erica. They are now part of Hanley. Yeah. They are helping us with what we are calling the Mark Garwood Recovery Model. And basically what we're doing is we're building out that job training and education for anybody who needs it, who's gone through our program. So we are helping them with their sense of purpose.
And it's about, I think of you as a social worker now, right? And as somebody who's educated in that. And so you understand concepts like social determinants of health. And when we talk about things like, what are the things that contribute to us having healthy, full lives, things like education are a positive determinant. But there's so much, things like, being able to have access to food and shelter and safety. And you're describing, and you're creating this perfect picture of how someone given those opportunities, the importance of those social determinants. And that's what that model is all about, is it's not just about looking at addiction or one specific moment. It's about looking at the whole lifespan and saying, how do we help somebody? I mean, it's funny. You were speaking several months ago, and there were a lot of people there. And I was at this place where you were speaking, and your kids and all the other kids, they're just running around and having a good time. They're being kids. And I went and I got some toys from my office and I brought them back to this little house, and they're just, we probably had half a dozen kids just, run. And I was just overwhelmed with emotion because of that's if you didn't have the recovery that you have, those kids, they wouldn't be there. They wouldn't be healthy and normal, rambunctious kids doing their thing. And so the things like contributing to paying for someone's education, someone's treatment, someone's helping someone get housing, like these things, they don't just change a person in a moment. They change the whole course of their lives, but then they change their kids' lives. And then you're actually working as a parent advocate and giving that experience and working with people who have the same struggles. So it changes other families, and then it changes communities. So when I think about the Garwoods and I think about scholarships for treatment, I think about scholarships that they give for education, it really is about changing communities in the long run.
Yeah, and it's just like this marriage between Hanley and the Garwoods, and now especially with Casa Flores, this is like my entire lifespan. Like, I feel like it like almost brings me to tears to think about, like, as a person who, struggled with not being housed for over a decade, who didn't have health insurance. I mean, this scholarship, I know they're called the Lifesaver, okay, but I quite literally saved my life. I can't understate that enough. And it wasn't like I was just taking in and, I hear it all the time. Like, we'll scholarship you for 10 days. We'll scholarship you for 2 weeks. I mean, I was here for 90 days. I didn't know how to live. I was here for 90 days. They gave me another 2 months to do outpatient. Yep. They assisted me with getting toiletries when I moved to sober living because I had nothing. I remember when I landed on the ground, the only shoes that I owned broke at the airport, and they bought me a new pair of sandals like at Walmart when I got to Hanley. I mean, little things like this. But I mean, this truly is like, it extends so far beyond that. You know, those basic things gave me safety and stability, but getting set up in sober living and getting that foundation and then continuing my education. I mean, it's true. I mean, I found a purpose in these things, and absolutely, I was as happy as could be at a year sober once I started to see my daughter again. All of that was great. But like, I had no idea what I had in store, and the Garwoods, and then Hanley continues. I mean, it's like Hanley plays a pivotal role in my life. I feel like every year all these things come around, and you know, Hanley's like offered me this community that gives me this opportunity to continue to give back. I mean, I was literally just on campus Monday night speaking. So I constantly feel like, you know, Hanley offers so much, not just when I was a patient here, you know, 8 years ago. It extends so far beyond that, and just seeing all the things that have, you know, come to fruition just since I left, all the things that Hanley's doing, it's pretty amazing.
We had a pregnant mom who admitted about 2 weeks ago. Same thing. She was unhoused. She came in men's boxer shorts and a T-shirt, no undergarments, flip-flops. And, you know, that's the Hanley way. That's what we do. That's what we do. And here's the difference. Today, you know, when that mom is ready to deliver, you know, her baby will not be taken from her. Her baby will be with her in treatment. And this particular patient does not have an older child. But if there was an older child, one of the main goals of this program is reunification so that that family is back together.
And what we're doing with our scholarships, we're not just doing treatment, right? Because what we know is that if you take someone in who has nothing and you give them 30, 60, 90 days of treatment and then say, see ya,
Right.
That's right.
what's going to happen?
That's right.
They don't have that
go back to.
Right. And they don't have the infrastructure. They don't have the know-how. They don't know how to balance checkbook, nothing. And so our scholarships, you know, you are the model of what we want to see, right? Mm-hmm. Someone who came in, got sober, but then had all those wraparound services and went all the way through college, got your master's degree. Maybe you're going to get a doctorate next.
I hope so.
But that's what we're looking for. And to that end, another thing that we're building at Hanley at our resource center is a coffee shop and a bookstore, not because we're in the coffee shop or bookstore business, but because that will be a resource, especially for these moms. They'll go back to work. They'll learn. They'll get a paycheck, right? They'll balance a checkbook. They'll pay some bills, and that will better prepare them, because that's the missing piece in this, right? You can treat people to death, but if you don't teach them how to live, you know, what good are you doing? Yeah.
And I certainly had no idea how to live. And you know, it's funny because I don't realize what was happening in the moment. You know, I was just like in this whirlwind, but I didn't realize I was being supported every step of the way, you know, with being set up with those things, being, you know, placed in a position where I wasn't just being discharged to the street after my scholarship ran out, you know. And I hear about that stuff all the time. And, you know, I always sing Hanley's praises. And with Casa Flores opening, obviously there's a lot of buzz, especially around my office and the work that I do, about how appropriate it would be for some of our patients. And I say this, and I don't say this lightly, like if one of my children needed treatment, this is the only place I would send them, because I know that they would be supported, you know, far beyond. And you know, that, like I said, still extends to this day. I am welcome back on that campus anytime, and I still feel like I'm family. I feel like my kids are family.
That's right.
My kids are those crazy children that
are supposed to be.
That every event.
That's right.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Well, one of these days, we will have an early learning center that is focused on children who have been exposed to substances in utero. There will be a playground there where your kids can join in and play with them.
Yeah.
Looks like maybe there's another little one on the way.
Yes. So again, like I said, every time I do something with Hanley or like these big life-changing things come about, I feel like I'm pregnant, so I get like really emotional all the time. So now I'm pregnant with my third child, and I just feel like the timing with this, with the opening of Casa Flores, it like brings all this back. Because again, it's so funny, like you're putting this, early childhood center, and I didn't quite realize what was happening at the time, but like my introduction to recovery and then being a parent again, Hanley played a big role in that because, like I said, just my daughter at that point, but my daughter was welcomed onto campus and welcomed into the family. I would bring her to alumni meetings, bring her to anniversary night. Yep. My daughter has grown up in AA. I'm pretty sure she's more popular in the rooms than I am. So like my children have grown up seeing recovery, and like they don't totally understand what that all means, but they know I go to meetings. Me and my husband refer to it as doing God's work. And so the kids are like, they're going to do God's work, like whatever that means.
Love that.
But like Hanley gave me that. And it's like I said, it's hard not to get emotional, to reflect back on like the lifespan of, what my recovery has looked like, and realize like how important that really was. Just having my daughter around, having her accepted. Again, like it's something I took and replicated in my own life. I used that experience of being able to have my daughter run loose at meetings. I got custody of my daughter back before I got my driver's license back. I lost that for a very long time. So I started a meeting at my house where I was like, if you have kids, like bring them here. They're going to behave better than mine, no doubt. So you can always bring them here. And like, it's just, it's something that I always want to stress is like, those two things are not independent of each other. Like I got sober to be of maximum purpose and usefulness. Absolutely. And a really important role that I hold is that of a parent, and more important than just being a parent to my children is being a woman in recovery as a parent to my children. And I really, really think that like it's an amazing thing to get to do those things together and have a place where, Hanley's a safe place where my kids go. When I came here on Monday night, my daughter was like, "You're going to Hanley. Like, why can't I just come?" So it's so cool to see that some of these things are being put into like more formal structures, because I think they're so important. And I think sometimes this population in particular is really so stigmatized that the need is just, it's a huge need, and we don't have the infrastructure or the services available to support them.
Yes. So well said. Yeah. Turner, good job. I know you raised those dollars for her scholarship.
Yes. Blood, sweat, and tears. No, that's the donor community that we have.
Yeah.
They believe in what we're doing, and, it's a very well-supported program. And, our goal is that all these programs will be even more well-supported over time.
I wish we had enough scholarships to treat everybody.
Agreed.
I really do.
Agreed.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. And I think that, it's really easy to look back at the person I was when I was using and pregnant, and I understand why there's a lot of strong guttural reactions to that. I totally do. But, to just discount that person and their life and their potential really does a disservice to what I see when I see these men and women, these people, these parents, whatever role they're in, when I see them get sober, there's some pretty amazing people out there that I think could very easily have been discounted simply because they were struggling with substance use at one point in their life.
I loved what you said about you found yourself pregnant, but you couldn't stop using. And I think that's the dichotomy that people don't understand about addiction. This isn't a choice.
Yeah.
The choice is whether or not you seek help, not whether or not you are able to stop using yourself.
Yeah. And I think that again is why it's so, easy for somebody who doesn't have that experience personally with addiction to look and see, because it's just as easy for me today to see something and be like, oh my gosh, I would do anything for my children, because absolutely that's the truth. I would do anything for my children. But the truth is, I couldn't stop using because I lost that power of choice in that moment. And it's just, it's not a possibility. And that's a really heart-wrenching place to be, you know, when I have my newborn daughter and I'm looking her in the eyes, and my daughter is like, God, she's like an adult now. She's the most beautiful little adult in the world, basically. She's just turned 8. But when she was a teeny tiny little 5-pound baby in my arms, I loved her more than I'd ever loved anything in the whole entire world. And I promised her the world, and I meant it with every single ounce of my being. And it's really hard to understand and reconcile within myself. Like, then why is it that I can't stop using anyway? Why do I still feel this void within myself that is driving me out? Even though I want to be a good parent and I want to be there for my child, and I just can't stop. Yeah.
That's addiction.
Yeah.
That's addiction.
And I think that's why, you know, I always love to tease Turner, and we joke with each other on occasion. That shocks everybody. But you know, I as the person who goes out and raises money and gets people to release their funds and contribute to this, it's, you know, I've told you once, I used to hate talking about money so much that when I was on staff at a church, I would not be the person who prayed before the offering. Like, I mean, but seeing you and seeing the understanding what happens and seeing what's happening with Casa Flores and where we're treating, I would backflip in a pink tutu down PGA and ask anyone.
I'm going to hold you to
from for the right amount.
Worth Avenue.
Because the what you do and the funds that you raise, you know, there's so many things out there. There's so many people saying, you know, give to this cause or give to this cause, but the funds that you raise go to what we're seeing, what we're hearing right here, right now. It's parents that get their kids back, kids that get their parents back. It's people that get their lives back and grow and get to change whole communities. So I am incredibly grateful to you for being here. And I will say it publicly, my brother, I'm incredibly grateful for the work that you do in reaching out and helping to fund what is really tough, because so many people can't afford people can't afford any health care. And the work that you do makes it possible, makes roads where there were no roads for anybody. So that's it. That's the one nice thing I say to you.
Okay. I'm glad this is recorded.
Because of the tutu.
Yeah, the tutu and that.
Yeah, the program that you're describing, Casa Flores, I should say that is the name of our brand new perinatal women's program. That program is going to get up off the ground pretty quickly. Just a quick shout out to Keith and Stacy Pelagi, who gave the initial gift so that we could get the plans started. I know you have quite a bit of fundraising to do ahead of you, but we'll get there. And then this program is going to be 3 or 4 years long, so that we can treat mom. You know, we can put baby in early learning. We can make sure that employability skills training and then job training and education happens, supportive housing happens, all those things that these moms need so that they can break that cycle of intergenerational addiction.
Yeah.
Really excited about it.
Yeah. And, you know, my father died an alcoholic death. And I think that me getting sober was like a huge, it really brought a lot more understanding to what my father suffered from and what he probably felt in, you know, not being able to be present to love me and my sister the way that I'm sure he wanted to. It really gave a lot of like understanding to that. And I love what you said about how, you know, it's not just like this person getting sober. I mean, you know, sure, I was restored to like a active, you know, productive member of society, of course. But, you know, I think not only getting my daughter back was fantastic for me, but, my children have a mother that, most of them have, no knowledge. I joke with my daughter sometimes, like, do you remember when you didn't live with me? And she doesn't even remember that time. Wow. And I get to raise them in a different way, with God willing, 3 healthy children that will have never seen their mom in active addiction. And I hope that they see that, I go out and I do what I can to help others. And that's really the most important thing. I hope that they are not touched by addiction personally in their life. And if that happens, I know where to go to turn turn for help. But I hope that at the very least that it instills this sense of duty and service, because that only came for me through my experience with addiction and Hanley. But it's so much more than that. Getting sober was just the roadway to finding this purpose in my life, and it really does. Especially us alcoholics and addicts, we come back with a vengeance when we get sober. And I think so many of us want to go out and do more. And I like to joke with my husband, Nikki's going to go out and change the world. But that's how I feel sometimes.
That's what you're doing.
You are what you're doing.
Thank you.
As we always say that the alcoholic or the addict is the smartest person in the room. They really are. And, when given the chance, they can change the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, guys, we're coming to the end of our time. And Nikki, we always like to give our guests the opportunity to say something. And I just get to choose who you say it to. But I'd love to hear, is there something that you would want to hear, the person who's out there who's suffering right now? What would you want them to hear? And then family members who have loved ones that are suffering, what would you want them to hear from you?
I'm going to start with the family members, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So to the family members, I would say, what you're dealing with, is this is not the person that you love. This is not the Nikki that you knew, the Nikki that, has the potential to be. And, dealing with addiction is heartbreaking, and it's difficult, and it impacts every single person in the family who touches the family, that community. I mean, it leaves a huge void in homes, families, systems in general. But there's hope out there. There is life after this. And I am certain that my family probably thought I was one of those people that was never going to get well. I mean, I think that there was a point where they just didn't believe I would ever get sober, because a decade plus of experience had shown them that, unfortunately. But I would tell them that nobody is too far gone, and those people that you love are still there. They're still the people you love. It's just that their actions are being driven by an addiction that is outside of their control. And they're not doing these things because they don't love you or they don't care about the people around them. It's because their addiction is driving those choices for them.
So good.
Yeah.
And to the person who is still out there suffering, I think what I needed to hear when I was out there was that, it's okay that you're feeling the way that you're feeling. There were so many times when I would be, sitting out there, literally on the streets of Lake Worth, because that's where I lived, out on the streets. And I would just be telling myself that, I don't deserve to get happy. I don't deserve to get sober. I don't deserve this baby that I'm carrying. I'm a bad person. I'm beyond redemption. And this is the internal dialogue that I would have with myself. And I think I really needed somebody to maybe tell me that it's okay to feel that way. It's okay to feel hopeless and not know what to do. Being hopeless is not an awful place to be, because if just one person reaches out and says, I get it, I know what it feels like to feel like there's no way out, there's no possibility of getting sober, and you don't think that is even within the realm of possibility in your future, I get that. And having someone who would have said, I understand that, I drank and used the same way that you did, I feel the same way that you did, maybe I couldn't stop for my kids either. I get all of those things. And I promise you, like, there is a way out, right? There is a solution. It's out there and it's available. I think that would have went a really long way. And thank God I did eventually find that person who, like, you know, connected that thought in my head. I just wish that, you know, there was more people out there doing that, right? Because people are dying. And, you know, I always joke that, like, me and my girls, like, we're like an army out there, you know, because people are dying and we need to be out there on the front lines telling people this, that there is hope. And if you feel like you're hopeless, like, that's not a bad place to be, because I can introduce you to this idea, and all it is my experience. And there is a way to get out of it.
Nikki, thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for all that you're doing in the community and as a mom. Turner, thanks for being here and for
Thank you, doctor,
and keep helping get funds to pay for the life-changing work that happens.
What size tutu?
Whatever. Listen, if the price is right, whichever one you want, it'll be pink. Right?
Thanks, Dr.
Thank you, Dr. Dane. Thanks, everybody, for listening. We'll see you next time on The Hanley Effect.
Thank you for joining us for The Hanley Effect. To learn more about our programs, visit hanleyfoundation.org or call 844-502-4673.